In 2003, plasma physicist Anthony Peratt wrote the seminal paper Characteristics for the Occurrence of a High-Current Z-Pinch Aurora as Recorded in Antiquity. The paper theorized that petroglyphs which bore a resemblance to plasma discharges were due to ancient people witnessing these events and recording their experience. One example of petroglyphs seen around the world is the SquatterMan, a stick figure drawn with two anomalous dots at either side. A Z-pinch is formed when the electrical current flowing in one direction causes a magnetic torus in the perpendicular plane, which creates an hourglass figure with two dots at the sides when seen in profile. But is this just a case of pareidolia? Anthropologists would argue these are merely shaman dancing with metal plates attached to their elbows and hips, as seen in this pectoral from pre-Columbian South America. This shaman wears a headdress to represent the rays of the sun god, and the gold plates may simply represent sundog formations. As these SquatterMan petroglyphs were drawn over millennia, if there were Z-pinch phenomena occurring over the time, then there must also be some physical mechanism that drives it. A recurring circumstance which allows the buildup of protons from coronal mass ejections to be held in a reservoir, which is then instantly released. Rather than being guided along the Earth's magnetic field lines to fall near the poles in beautiful common aurora. Oh sure, there is one spot in the Earth's magnetic field which dips slightly, but it rests harmlessly over the South Atlantic Ocean. Well, it used to anyway. Now it is moving to the Andes. Regardless, there is no proof that an actual Z-pinch ever occurred in this region, or the billions of degrees generated at the pinch would leave some type of a scar. Okay, there is glass strewn about for 75 kilometers across the Atacama Desert, but scientists claim this is due to comets. Yes, you heard that right. Comets plural. Because comets always explode in the atmosphere, glassing the same desert hundreds of years apart. The age of the glass is dated to at least two dates near the Younger Dryas boundary, separated by hundreds of years. The Younger Dryas saw the extinction of megafauna in the Americas and was bookended by two unprecedented spikes in temperature hundreds of years apart. The Atacama Desert, which is the driest desert outside the poles, once had Great Lakes, and the glass, when examined, holds the imprints of grasses as well as exotic iron compounds fused in billions of degrees. Our sun is not hot enough to fuse heavy metals. Only collisions of giant stars can do that, or a Z-pinch. In laboratory settings, Z-pinches produce billions of degrees and are now commonly used to start the process of fusion. But there is nothing connecting this area to the SquatterMan petroglyphs described in Peratt's paper. Oh crap. They must have missed the world's largest anthropomorphic geoglyph, which also depicts a shaman wearing two figures attached at the hips. A number of gods from Central and South America are depicted with anomalous dots at the side, like this frog and this caiman deity. Also, the famous Nazca line spider, which sits front and center along the processional, bears a strong resemblance to the field lines of a Z-pinch. But that's the way pareidolia along with confirmation bias work. When you start looking for evidence in sketchy data, you will find it everywhere. If it were true ancient people saw a Z-pinch and then created religions based on it, you would expect to find religions across the globe featuring a sun god coming to Earth in the form of a man depicted with anomalous dots. Oh Jesus. A Z-pinch aurora, also called lightning from the heavens, would create pyroclastic winds kicking up silicates into the pinch, where they would be fused into iron. The Nazca lines are drawn by removing pebbles covered with iron oxide to expose the lighter silicate sand beneath. But it's just pareidolia. Trust me. Trust science. Did you know you have a sixth sense of electromagnetism? It's very weak and scientists differ on its mechanism. It may be magnetite, tiny magnetic iron crystals, or it may be quantum spooky action at a distance. I guess they didn't notice the third eye buried deep in your brain. Eyes are electromagnetic sensors, and one lying beneath the skull would likely react to lower frequencies than light. Something around the range of waves emanating from the brain. Perhaps our ancestors were empaths. Evolution had made humans excellent navigators, hunting migrating game and gathering seasonal fruits using the Earth's magnetic field as a guide. But now they walk in circles, if they walk at all, living mostly sedentary lives in small cages. What changed? A Z pinch creates an EMP as the magnetic pinch forms and relaxes. Birds that navigate and have magnetite in their beaks are often sadly found falling from the sky in electrical fields from thunderstorms and wind generators. Could a Z pinch have wiped out those individuals who retained magnetite in their brain, possibly in the pineal gland? The Americas were repopulated by Mongols navigating the Bering Strait and living much as all people did before the Younger Dryas as hunter-gatherers. Mongolia is the antipode of Atacama. Were they the only people unaffected by the Z pinch? Or is it all just pareidolia? The Nazca lines can be separated into three types: straight lines, glyphs, and trapezoid areas. If your meadow was suddenly glassed and turned into an unrecognizable desert and your leaders who retained more magnetite had just been killed, straight lines across the desert would be essential. If this had happened multiple times in cultural memory, wouldn't you tell the story in glyphs large enough to appease the sky gods? Of a spider that descended from the sky on a silken strand, biting the earth and turning it brown like a spider bite. But what of the trapezoids? This is where our story takes a dark turn. It wasn't just sky god religions that were born in AZ pinch, but also sorcery. Remember these guys? Shaman dressed as the sun god. Literally playing God. Could a few psychopaths have envied the power of the sun god to instill fear in the remaining population? The Z pinch didn't just fuse silicates into iron but into microspheres of magnetized iron having properties similar to magnetite. The active ingredient in witchcraft is lodestone powder. Magnetized metal particles. The effects of witchcraft have been called Havana syndrome, malicious animal magnetism, and possession. Were these guys in ancient hazmat suits hired to collect the magnetized iron? Did they understand how poisonous it was? As in Egypt, the elite bathed in metal dust to receive instructions from their ancestors who lived eternally as stars. Or at least that is what the magi or shaman had them believing. It did not end well for many of the elite, often found in mass graves. In reality, they were being poisoned with magnetic nanoparticles and manipulated with crude transmitters. A simple example is cracking a honing strop like a whip to create a small EMP as the embedded metal shavings are magnetized by stripping electrons as you hone the knife. Another common method of control was getting magnetite onto the inner ear hairs and playing the voice of God. This same religion was practiced around the globe and is characterized by processionals where Path of Souls rituals were held. It still controls the leaders today who are merely followers of sorcery and patsy rulers. You may have noticed the psyops and blood rituals performed by today's elite all have an end times theme: Great Reset, Extinction Rebellion, Great Awakening, War, Pestilence. You may not have noticed them hardening tunnels in the mountains on the other side of the world since they made it a war zone. Is it a coincidence that it's all happening as the South Atlantic anomaly encroaches the Atacama Desert again? Of course it is. It's all simply pareidolia. Trust me. Would your robotic replacement lie to you?